community and also celebrate our neighbours and our relationships with our neighbours. And so I suppose the first thing to do is to say, this is a party of sorts. Are you all in party mood? Yes. Are you sure you're in party mood? Shall we say a happy St. George's Day to each other in a loud and clear voice? After three or I'm going to say after three or let's have another go. 1, 2, 3. Happy St. George's Day. Wonderful. We almost feel in party mood there. Some of you may be saying, well, party mood, yes. Celebration, yes. Community, yes. But what about St. George? Isn't he slightly divisive? Isn't it all a bit jingoistic? And yet you have to actually look beyond that rather pale argument at what the truth is. St. George stands for some quite interesting things. Do you know that St. George is actually multinational? And there are many countries who take as their patron St. George. Anyone like to shout out who else may be celebrating this year? Which countries?
Portugal.
Greece, Russia, Malta, Portugal, all sorts of places. So in actual fact, we can see St. George as uniting people across borders. Now some of you will say, well, what about the religious divide as well? Surely St. George is a Christian saint, and therefore it's divisive because it doesn't take account of other religions. Well, actually, St. George is also a Muslim saint, so he does perhaps cross other divides and religious divides as well. And he points to the fact that we can have dialogue and we can talk to people. And if you talk to other religious leaders, what they will say is, we want to talk to each other because we have far too much in common and we have so little that separates us. The wonderful thing about Brighton is, of course, that you can talk to so many different people from different countries, from different faiths, from different communities. And that says something wonderful about a party atmosphere and bringing people together. So what is it that we're actually coming to celebrate today? Well, it's actually quite difficult to bring people together, isn't it? Because when we try to do that, all of a sudden, strange things come out of the woodwork. For instance, we look at our chaps here who are dressed with medals, and there are going to be some people who say, we don't like soldiers, we don't like all this anthem, it's all about war. Are you about war? I suspect you're about peace, aren't you? Yes. But what about people who look at our young people? No place for young people in the church, is there? Because they're noisy, because they don't understand. And yet they have just as much right to be here as you or I or anyone else. But we have to get rid of some of our prejudices, don't we? We have to welcome everyone into our community, no matter how hard or difficult that may be at times. And that means a degree of understanding. Now it's wonderful when we come together, isn't it? Because we can begin to talk about the values that we want for our society. The sort of things we'd like to live our lives by and share with our young people and share with the rest of our community. And what sort of things are those things? What do we really want to share? Well, it would be interesting, wouldn't it? If in actual fact I'd arrived here this morning at 10:35, sat down without bothering to do any of the processional robing or any of the bits and pieces and said, I can't be bothered. The reality is you expect me to bother, don't you? Just as I expect you to bother. And it's part of that bothering to sit down and think and talk and be part of, which is the beginning and seed of actually coming together as a community and being able to celebrate. And when we talk about that, what do we actually want to pass on to future generations? Do we want to pass on to them the sense that they have to be high achievers, high earners, that they have to be the top of their social scale? It's interesting that a friend of mine's just bought a new car. I don't understand cars. I believe they have 5 wheels and one which you steer. If you're very lucky, they have a 6th wheel, and that's kept in the back in case there are bursts. But what I do know is my friend has a new car, and he's very, very proud of his new car. The difficulty is, it was only a few weeks before another friend bought another car which was bigger, so he's not so terribly happy. That sort of materialism, that sort of depending on being the top or being the best or having things doesn't really work, because it still leaves that great hole in the centre of people's lives. A hole that really can't be filled by motor cars and houses, by titles, by money or anything else. I think it's actually the gold in this, it's reacting with the microphone. What we, I hope, are more interested in is how we support each other and love each other. And that means when people are feeling down, or people are feeling insignificant, or people are feeling insecure and feel that they can't do something, instead of actually allowing them to feel that way, we come alongside of them and we allow them to make mistakes. We allow them to become all that God ever wanted them to be. And that's a rocky road. Because I must admit, sometimes you're helping someone and you think, if only they could get it right. It's not about getting it right. It's about helping them to build themselves up and to try. It's about the journey as much as it's about... Can we turn the microphone off? Whoops. There we are, much better. I can shout, I have a loud voice. It is partly, I think, about building people up so that they can become the best that God ever wanted them to be. But that road is always going to be rocky. They're always going to make mistakes and not get things right. But it's about, nevertheless, loving them and allowing them to be part of our community. We're going to actually sit very often from places of supposed knowledge. I remember going to baptise my cousin, and I looked at my aunts and uncles, and they're very austere people now because they're old and grave. And interestingly enough, I know their background. I know that dear Auntie Reen used to hang out of the window with a cigarette because in actual fact her father disapproved of smoking. She'd never tell that to my cousins. I know that another one was quite vain and used to look in the mirror, and my grandfather told her off for doing it. She'd never tell that to my cousins. We appear sometimes as grave and old and great people who have never made mistakes. Sometimes we also have to share our past and share our mistakes and share our vulnerabilities so that people can understand it's all part of actually coming together as a community, sharing and growing. We make ourselves vulnerable when we actually come together and start talking. We actually have to focus on loving one another despite or because of our differences. We have to focus on loving one another because we are who we are, and we're trying, all of us, to become the best that we can in God and God's image. All of these things we come to celebrate today. But the choice remains our choice. Do we want to not make the effort and just keep to our own groups? Do we not want to make the effort because people don't always fit in? Do we not want to make the effort because people get things wrong and it's sometimes tiresome? Do we not want to make the effort because, in actual fact, it's just a pain to make effort? The choice is ours. We can build a community, or we can find 100 reasons not to build a community. St. George is a big excuse for coming together for a party. St. George is a big reason for celebrating all that we have to offer to Kent Town. St. George gives us chance to actually relax with each other. So welcome to our place on this, our celebration day. Amen.